This conference will now be recorded.
In yesterday's class, we talked about the RDS service. RDS service is nothing but the relational database, and we have created one MySQL RDS service. And so here, what exactly this service is about? This service is going to uh, help you in saving the manual effort that the one database admin has to do in terms of hardware provisioning, in terms of taking the backups, in terms of scalability. So all of these things will be taken care automatically by the RDS, and that's what the RDS is doing. So this is about the RDS, and now today we will we are going to discuss about the AWS DevOps services. Okay, so what is this DevOps services is all about? That till the time you guys might have heard about one of the tool from the DevOps, which is the Jenkins. Okay, now Jenkins is one of the very popular tool we have, and with the help of Jenkins, we can form a CI/CD pipeline. Okay, so in CI/CD, what we expect is to take the code from the developer and then continuously integrate it. Okay, means what the very first tip. So if I talk about the workflow now this particular session is not about complete CI/CD, even though we have to set up a CI/CD. So this session is more about talking about the services. Okay, the AWS DevOps services. CI/CD is something that we covered in the Jenkins module. Okay, so here I'll talk about it. All right. So now the next thing here we are going to discuss about let's discuss a little bit about a CI/CD. Okay, so let's discuss a little bit about the just give me a second. It looks like something there's a bug. I need to close this whiteboard and I have to open it. So this particular application is from the Microsoft, but still you guys can see that the application might, sometimes they have the bugs. Okay, so here is the here we will understand first of all about the CI/CD. Okay, so what is meant by CI/CD? Let's understand it very quickly. Okay, so this session is not about CI/CD, as I already mentioned. We'll just have little bit understanding here. So CI/CD is all about to understand or to have the workflow in such a way that like we would like to implement a complete automation here. Okay, complete automation in the sense that let's say here we have a developer. Now developer is going to write the code on his laptop. Whenever he's done writing the code in, he's going to go push that code to some source code management tool. Now what that tool is going to be? So that tool could be anything, but here I'm just assuming that you most of the guys are familiar with the GitHub, so that's the reason I'm writing the GitHub as name. So GitHub is a place where developers can store their code, application code. Now once they have stored the code here, further they will go and once they have the code available here, okay. Further we have the code availability. So the next thing, the very first step, what we do is we build application. Correct, guys? We build application that we take that code, we build it. So that's something we do as a very first task. Now, once the building of the application is done, then we get what? We get the artifact. Further, you might would like to take this artifact, test it, code review, or some of the things you can do it. Or let's say here, while building itself, okay, you are building the Docker image. So such things you can do it. And further, you might be interested to deploy that application on various EC2 platform or on ECS platform or EKS platform, okay, wherever you want. Okay, so this is just a general workflow that I'm just trying to bring in front of you, and that's what the CI/CD is. So here, what is actual intention is that we can do all of these activities manually also. So as soon as your developer push the code to GitHub, he will tell you, he will message you that I'm done pushing the code. Okay, so you guys will go take the code on the server, then build it, then have the artifact, send this artifact to the multiple systems wherever you wish to run the application, and then you can run the application. Okay, you can also do this workflow, but then why you don't want to do it manually and why you want to automate it? Because every single time developer is just pushing the code, you have to do this activity. So let's say if he is pushing the code 10 times in a week, so you'll be doing this activity 10 times in a week. And that's the reason here we would like to automate this solution that as soon as your developer push the code here to the GitHub, you are going to everything should be happen in an automatic way, that building of the application, building the artifact, sending the artifact to multiple storage systems, then taking that artifact and deploying it to multiple places should happen automatically, and that's a continuous process. For each commit, okay, for each push from the developer, we would like to do this activity. And that's what here the CI/CD is like we are talking here about, that is continuous integration and continuous delivery or continuous deployment. So we would like to implement this particular scenario here. And now in this case, let's just talk about, like, now we are going to discuss about the AWS DevOps stack for that. Okay. So AWS also has few of its services which can perform the same thing what your Jenkins perform. Okay. So AWS also has that capability that whatever the Jenkins provides to you, you can get the same thing from the AWS also. So you can say it's AWS stack is nothing but it's like a competitor to the Jenkins. So the very first thing here, like why one should not use the Jenkins and why anyone should go with the AWS DevOps stack. Okay, like what are the advantage here we get, or do we really have any advantage? So let's understand that. So the very first thing here you need to understand is that Jenkins is what it is, an open source tool. Okay, Jenkins is an open source tool, so you guys can just download it and start using it freely, so you don't have to pay the charges to anyone. Second thing about Jenkins is it is a cloud provider, it's a neutral software. Okay, like it does not matter whether you are using the Azure or AWS, you can just have that software and you can start running it. So these are the few of the advantages we have for Jenkins. Okay, but when it comes to AWS DevOps stack, we have few of the more other advantages. And what are they? Let's just talk about it. So there are a few disadvantages of Jenkins has, and that's the reason we have to look for the AWS DevOps stack. Now under the AWS DevOps stack, we have few of the services. Of course, we can use it optionally them. So the very first service we have, that is a code commit service. Okay, AWS code commit service. Now this is the equivalent to the GitHub. Then further we have the code build service. Now this is the equivalent of Jenkins, you can say. And further we have, for deployment, we have the code deploy service, which again the Jenkins can also do it. So here also it is the equivalent of Jenkins. So we have this three, and then further we have one more service which is actually stitching to all. Okay, like this service doesn't exist by itself. Okay, we when we create all of these services, so to bundle all of this, to stitch all of this, we have one more service called as a code pipeline. So these are the services we have it from the AWS, which can create the pipeline for you: code commit, code build, code deploy, code pipeline. Okay, so these are the four services we have, which can deliver the CI/CD process for you. So why not Jenkins and why these services? Let's just discuss about it. The biggest disadvantage with the Jenkins is what? It is the software that runs on the server. Okay, so you have here the server, and on top of the server you put a Jenkins software, and then you start accessing it via the browser. Okay, so you open your browser and you just on 8080 port this run. So here you put IP and then you start accessing. This is the way we access the Jenkins application. Now what is problem here we have? So Jenkins is kind of an application which runs, which has to be running here 24/7. So here what I'm saying is that, let's say my developer log in at 10 a.m. in the morning, and maximum he will be doing the work till 7 to 8 p.m. on that day. But once he left the office, still behind the scene our application and the server is running all the time. So your server is running for 24/7, and you will be paying the price here. That what you have to pay, the price is going to be the 24/7 again. So unnecessary, you will be just keep running your server all the time. So that's biggest advantage you have with respect to the Jenkins. Okay, any questions? So the next thing, and not just this single disadvantage we have few others. Okay, so and this happens with all the application which run simply on the server. Okay, so Jenkins is one of them, where you simply even though you are not using this particular application, still that application is running all the time, and we are here wasting the resources. That's the first thing is happening with the Jenkins. Second thing is that, again, like at how much is the build you're doing, right? So as I was explaining, let's say your developer is doing 10 commits or 10 pushes to the week. Okay, so probably you just have to build this particular thing for 10 times in a week. Okay, that's something you wish to do. But again, as I mentioned here, you're unnecessarily running it for 24/7. So that's one of the biggest disadvantage we have it here. And on the other side, the applications here we're talking about, those are like a serverless solution. Okay. So other solution that what we have is something called as a serverless solution. Basically, here also we have a servers, but as per requirement, you just take the server, you perform the action, and then those servers will get deleted. So it is that kind of approach we have here when I talk about the AWS DevOps stack from the AWS. So here Jenkins, as you guys know, that 24/7 we are running, but here what we are doing is we are just taking the server, we provision what, and then we do whatever we want to do, and after that we simply destroy those things. Second disadvantage here we have in terms of Jenkins, that we have to handle the server, like as per your requirement. You might have to create, let's say, one server you created as a master server, then you have multiple projects to build, so you are creating the slave servers. Okay, and again those will be handled by the Jenkins agent. So this one concept we have, that is the master and slave, this concept we have in Jenkins, where your instructor, that's master, is going to give the instructions here to your other servers, and those servers will do the things for you. So whenever there is some scalability comes, you have to handle multiple servers, and overall handling, you are servers is going to be the headache for you, and that's the reason here we are looking for a better solution, and AWS DevStack could be the good one. So you guys can see that this is something, a lot of people have started using it, and in fact they're moving to this kind of a solution, that is code pipeline solution, in which instead of Jenkins, okay, you will be going and using something else like a code pipeline tool. So that was the it was the the stack we have to discuss, and this is an individual service, okay, code commit, code build, code deploy. We have to integrate all of this with the help of the code pipeline tool, and that's how we form the CI/CD in case of the AWS DevOps stack. Now, first of all, let's discuss what this services is all about. So, as I already mentioned, that code commit is something. It is a replacement for code commit is something. It is a replacement for the GitHub, or you can say it is a the competitor to the GitHub also. So, code commit is a service that, okay, like here you can store your code. Your developer can push the code here. Then we have the code build service. Code build service is going to build your application, that whichever the code you have. Okay, let's say you have the application code written in Java. So with the help of Maven, you are going to build the application. That's what the code build will do. Then we have the code deploy. Code deploy can help you to deploy your application on multiple places. So whether it's EC2, whether it's EKS, whether it's you have multiple places ECS, so you can simply deploy it, or in fact with the help of build tool also you can go and deploy it. Okay, so there you have a choices, but yes, this is what it is. Now one by one we will discuss each service, and code pipeline is basically to stitch all of the services, like somebody push the code to code commit here, then taking the code, then building it. Once the building is done, then deploying it. Okay, all of this, all the three operations should happen one after other, so that part can be handled by the code pipeline. So it's like a stitching. Okay, stitching of the services can be done by the your code pipeline. So that's what the code pipeline is going to do for you. Next thing is that just now we have discussed about the code pipeline, right? So let's just discuss and further about, like, let's take one service at a time and then discuss about it. Okay, the very first one here I'm going to take, that is a code commit. Now, this something you guys need to understand, that this AWS has created this code commit service. Now, code commit is not as popular as your GitHub. Okay, GitHub is it is like a the well well advanced good tool is that probably GitHub is going to be the ideal tool that is going to remain all the time. Okay, first of all, this is owned by the Microsoft, and this particular GitHub is has become a standard for most of the developers. Okay, so developers knows this tool very well. They know how to push pull all of these operations to on, or like how to do authentication, how to integrate this particular tool on with the multiple the application is something that is known, very well known by most of the people. So and that's what make the people to stick around tools, right? So this is about the GitHub. Okay, so you can see from AWS we have one competitor for that, and which is a code commit. Okay, so here you can see store the code in the private Git repositories. So that's what here you have option. So while forming the pipeline, okay, while creating the pipeline, it's your choice that whether you would like to store the code into the code commit, or whether you would like to store your code, application code, in your GitHub. Okay, so here you have a choice, like when you're forming the pipeline, the code pipeline, so you have a choice that. Okay, now let me tell you frankly, the very at initial of going with the sessions, guys, the whatever I'll be teaching today and tomorrow, is the advanced thing. Okay, and then for that purpose, like you just need to be highly concentrated here all the time. Second thing is that it might happen that something is overwhelming for you, so you have to keep revisiting this session also while doing the practice. Okay, probably code committees is not that difficult, but the rest of the tools are the other tools are bit complex. Of course they are complex, but once they are implemented you don't have to worry about, so they have the advantages also. And whatever I'm teaching you, that's something the real time use cases. Okay, so in fact in my organization right now we are using the code pipeline, and we never have used the Jenkins at all. Okay, and I already told you the reasons why. So we don't want to hardcore or provision the server all the time and have to take care of the servers. Rather, you should do the things and let's destroy it there itself. Okay, so that's kind of a model we do follow. Okay, and that's the reason you can see there is an increase, uh, you know, in terms of percentage of this kind of services where we don't have to deal with the servers, and all of the CI/CD, coming on the rise. Like if I talk about the way we have like other solutions, okay, if I talk about the other solutions, CI/CD is popular for. So Jenkins is, of course, they are popular, but apart from that, what are the other solutions are becoming popular, and which is going to give the tough competition to Jenkins is the code pipeline is the one that I just talked about. Second thing, from the GitHub itself, the GitHub action is one solution we have. Okay. Now on this particular GitHub, if you open any one of the repository, let's say if I open Docker project, okay, you can see one actions tab here we have. So we can set up the CI/CD by clicking here. Now GitHub action is also very simple to execute, and overall whatever here I just talked about code pipeline, it is going to behave it with that way. So that's the reason, even if you understand the code pipeline, the other rest of the tools which are similar to code pipeline is something will be easy for you to understand it. So GitHub action is the second tool we have. Then GitLab is the other similar tool like we have from GitHub. So GitLab is also provide their CI/CD process. So again, it's a GitLab CI/CD what we say. So that's a third tool that you can say that is on the rise portion. Okay, so that is also one of the tool is getting popular. So these are the few tools which are coming up as a trending, and which is a tough competition for Jenkins. And of course at some point the Jenkins, instead of Jenkins we will be having some other tool, because of the flaws which I just discussed now. The handling the servers is something nobody likes. Okay, fine. So that's the reason
One
here.
question, Amol. One question, Amol.
Yes,
So this code commit, that's the service provided by AWS.
yes. Code
Okay,
commit
and
is a service provided by AWS.
okay, and here we don't need to maintain the service and all those things that we need to do with Jenkins. That's why it is preferable, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Yeah. So here we are going to store the code on this particular service. This is all about the storing your code, application code. Now the best part is that code commit is also using the Git distribution. Okay. So when I talked about the Git and GitHub, so these are the two separate entities we have. Okay, they are not same. So Git is the distributed algorithm that got decided to use it with a multiple system. So Git is something is installed on your laptop, and GitHub is the platform, that is a web application. We have it inside a cloud. Okay, like GitHub is using that. So GitHub is the organization who has created that, or like Microsoft is the organization who has created this GitHub tool web application, and that you guys use it as a remote repository. Okay, so this particular tool is something is owned by some other organization. Now this tool is like a free, okay, it's like a open source, and this is installed on your laptop. Okay, so you are sitting here, you're dealing with on your laptop, so Git is installed here, and GitHub is something the web app tool you have, right? So here you are storing the code. Now the way you are using the GitHub, okay, exactly same way you can store the code on the code commit also. So here you can store the code like the way you store it on the GitHub. So but then what commands here you are going to use are going to be similar like your GitHub. Okay, so it's not something that because here the Git is a common tool that we can like with the help of which we are going to handle these things. So it is like for you, you don't have to learn any extra or new commands. Okay, like let's say you're saying the git clone on the GitHub to clone your code. To commit, you're saying git commit. Okay, to push your code, you say git push origin something. So all of the commands are going to remain same. Only the authentication part, okay, authentication part like how you do it with the GitHub is going to differ in terms of like what is the major difference you have authentication and the first initial setup. Okay, the first initial setup is going to be different, and once your setup is done, okay, so there onwards whichever the commands you're using with the GitHub, so all of those things should work with the same way. So we have Git and GitHub topic to be teach or to discuss in the along with the Jenkins. Okay, like we discuss there. Right now our focus is something else. Here our focus is going to be dealing with the code commit tool. So from your Git laptop, okay, tool, we are going to push the code to the code commit. Like this is what something we will do the setup and we will learn how to do it. As I already mentioned, GitHub is one choice we have, code commit is one choice we have. So further, when we have to integrate with the code pipeline, okay, the last output is something that we have to stitch all of these services together and form a CI/CD process. So in that case, it's your choice, okay, whether you would like to go with the GitHub or code commit. So when I say that I just wish to implement the AWS dev stack, and code commit is the very first service here we are discussing. So as a part of the syllabus, okay, like when I say AWS dev stack, so code commit is the one where we can store the code, but it is not necessary in like when we are setting up the code pipeline that we are taking the code from the code commit or the GitHub. Okay, so you have a choice. You have a choice, and not just GitHub. Okay, like when you are integrating or when you are creating the code pipeline, you can take the code from GitLab, you can take the code from Bitbucket. So we have a multiple solutions to do it. We have multiple solutions to implement the same thing. So here your intention is to form a CI/CD pipeline with the help of code pipeline, and in this case we will first learn the code commit service.
Amal,
So let's yes.
small doubt. Jenkins is a free source, right? Open source.
Yes.
In
Yes.
that case, if it runs 24/7 also, we don't have an issue, right? When it is in a free source and AWS is a we should payable resource, then why are we going with code commit? What is the purpose of that?
Okay, so Jenkins is a free software. Totally agree. But to run the Jenkins, you require a server that has to be running 24/7. Okay,
Okay.
without server you cannot run the things, correct?
Yes, yes.
And that is what the problem is.
Okay. For that service, we have to pay, right? Okay. Okay, Amal.
Yes, for that server we have to pay, correct?
Okay, Amal. Got it.
Yeah. So let's discuss this code commit service now. And okay, here we have to, going forward, we have to take care of few of the things. The very first one, I can just go and create repository the way we create it here on GitHub. Okay, like you just go to your account and then further, you click on repositories and then just click on new, and that's how you create a new repository. The same way here also you can create a repository. So just click on the create repository. You can provide some repository name. Let's say it's a demo code commit repository. Description, you can provide that what this repository is all about. And one more thing, that the repository, whatever you are creating, those are going to be the private ones. So here you don't get any option, right? So when you are creating here, so you have public and private choice here for GitHub, but for AWS, you're creating the you can just create a private repository, which is a good thing also. Okay, like if I tell you that whenever you're working for organization, so you don't deal with the public repository. Okay, in most of the cases you don't deal with the public repository until and unless your organization is someone who is contributing to the open source project. You don't deal with the public repository. Okay, and that's what the case we have here. So let's just not even talk about that, right? So that's what the AWS might have thought. At this season they are not providing the public repository at all, which is a good thing, not a bad one. Okay, so let's go and say create. So here we are done with the repository creation, which was like just a easy step, right? So here we are done with the repository creation, but let me show you one warning here. Now one small thing you need to understand is that I'm logged in here with the root user. Okay, so whenever you guys log in with the email ID and password, so you actually logged in with the root user, and now that's not something happen in the real-time case. Okay, you're supposed to be logged in with the some IAM user, so that's something we already discussed when we were talking about the IAM service, right? So we always logged in with the IAM user and not the root user. Now code commit service does not work with the root user. Okay, like you cannot configure the SH connection is something they're talking about. So you can see this is a grayed out. Okay, so how you can then solve this problem. So to demonstrate this particular session, I'll just quickly create one IAM user, and with that IAM user we will set up this code commit repository, and that is going to be the general practice also. Like whenever you will be working in like in real time scenarios, so you will be working with some IAM user and not with the root user. Okay, so let's create one. So I'll say create user. I'll give my name, that's Amol, and I will provide the Amol user the AWS management console. I want to create an IAM user. I'll set up some password to this user. Let me provide one. And no, I don't want to create a new user password, but when I logged in for next time, say next. Then we need to provide the permission to this particular user. So just assume this particular user is someone who is a DevOps engineer, so I'm just providing the admin access, and say next, and finally say create user. So we have created the user, and it's time to log in to that user. So this is the console URL we have, so I'll just put that one. Then that's my username and this is my password. So let me log in with that credentials. Okay, like we will be logging with the Amol's credentials. So here the username is Amol and password is going to be the whichever I have set up. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so you guys can see that I'm logged into this particular region. You can see so right now that's what the region we have, but whatever the activity I'm performing, those are performing in the AP South 1. So let me go there in AP South 1. And here we were particularly discussing about a code commit service. So let's go there. You guys can see that 3 minutes ago we have created this particular service, and if I click on this, okay, you can see that SH is not grayed out here, and yep, so I can use this particular service with this user. Okay, so that's one thing here we have here. So let's go ahead and set up the this particular connection. Now here one thing you need to understand, that setup is going to be a bit different than your GitHub account. Like GitHub procedure is bit easy to understand and do the things. Here the process is going to be little lengthy, little difficult, but if you concentrate with me and if you're present with me, then you might be able to understand it, and of course you have to practice it. After that only you will be able to understand it completely. So let's go ahead and do it, guys. Okay, the very first thing here, uh, from which laptop you would like to do setup. So in my case, it's a Windows system. So I'll just click on that, and then these are the steps I have to follow. Okay. To just simplify this overall procedure, okay, about all the three services, I have created one GitHub repository. Okay. So let me show you that GitHub repository, and just I would recommend you guys to check the GitHub repository very well, because the procedure here, I have included everything inside this particular GitHub repository. If you like this particular repository, you might put a star here, because I have taken a lot of efforts here to set up this document. Okay. Now here I have explained all of the three services. So probably code commit is something we have the procedure here to set up, but rest of the two services, code build and code deploy, we will follow this particular document to set up it. Okay. So and this document will help you from the scratch to do all of the things with a very easy way. Okay. And with this document you will be able to do the things, but without this it becomes difficult for you to remember the thing. Okay. So I would highly recommend you just clone this repository or fork it, or just and also give some star. Fine. So let's just go ahead and do it now. Now the very first thing, code commit is something you can see. Code commit cannot be managed with the root user. That's the reason we have created one user here. And now we have search the service and probably manage Git repository. So here we have to follow the instructions. So you can see the following documentation provided in repository page. So that's something we have to follow. So let's just follow these instructions here. Now the very first prerequisite you have on your Windows system, that you should have a Git installed. Okay, now in my case, do I have the Git installed? The answer is yes. Okay, how I can confirm? So basically, the Git is nothing but it's a Git bash. Okay, the Git bash software, what you see is like providing you that Git software. So I'm having this Git bash and I can just start working with this particular tool. So their first question is that, a prerequisite is that you should have this Git tool to be installed. And yes, we do have it. So, let's just go ahead with that. Second thing, once you are done with this prerequisite, you have to do what? You should have, like, you have to generate a public and a private key pair with the sh keygen command. Now sh keygen private, like here you are doing what? Let's understand. You are going to do what? Like here you have the code commit service, and on your laptop you have, like here, from here you wish to access like pull push operation you would like to do from your laptop. So, and here you are setting up the sh authentication. So if you wish to set up the authentication, that is sh1, in that case we require the sh keys. Okay, we require the sh keys. Now anyone in the world can generate a key pair by their own. Okay, and then for that we have the command called as sh keygen. Okay, now this is the standard command we have. Okay, it has nothing to do with AWS or the code commit or anything like that. Okay, nothing with respect to GitHub Git. This is a standard command that we have, and with this generic command you are going to generate a key pair. So whenever you put this sh keygen command, you get two keys. Okay, you get two keys. One key is going to be the private key, and one key is going to be the public key. So
Amul,
yes,
this using this sh keygen, which is going to create our laptop is going to create this key pair. What is the
yes,
source that is?
yes, like
But
that I will explain you. Okay, like we have to
okay,
do this as a
okay,
demo. Okay, just
okay.
sit relax. Okay, yeah. Let me finish this one. Okay, you will come to know what here I'm talking about. So sh keygen is the command that we have to put in your laptop, that will give us the two keys. Okay, it's just about generating the keys. Now whether you put it in your laptop or wherever you put, that's your choice. It just we require a two key pair. Okay, like one key pair, basically the private and the public key pair we required, and you generate it with your own way. Okay, like here this is giving us that key. Now private key is something that is going to be with your laptop, and public key is something that is going to be with your code commit. That's what happened in the all the cases. Okay, in fact, even though you do the GitHub authentication, SSH authentication, in that case also we have to do the same thing. You generate a key pair, you provide the public key to your GitHub, or here in this case code commit, and private key is nothing but it's your key. Okay, it is the same concept that we apply. Okay, every single time. It's a lock and key pair. Okay, so here key is nothing but your private key, and lock is nothing but your this particular public key. So whenever you have to open your public key lock, so you just bring the perfect private key, and then only your lock will get open. So it is that case. Okay, so that's the reason we have to generate this key pair first. As a prerequisite, this is something you required. So let's go ahead and put this command on your laptop. Now I need to generate a key pair. Okay, I need to generate a key pair, and if I say sh-keygen, so this is what the command I have to put to have a key. But there's one more problem here. And what is that? If I just press enter, you can see that my keys will get generated on this particular path, and this is going to be my key name, which is the ID RSA. Okay, now that's something the by default key we have, and we use this particular ID RSA key for multiple purposes. Okay, in fact, like when we do a setup from your laptop with the GitHub, so we use this particular key, which is a ID RSA. Okay, now that's the reason I'm looking to have something else as a key pair name. Okay, I'm looking for something else as a key pair name. So let me show you something. I'll just go to .sh folder. Now I have this code commit keys generated earlier also, so let me remove those to just avoid the confusion for you people. Okay, so here we go. So the next thing here, you can see that we have something IDRSA and IDRSA pub key. That is this is my private key, and this is the public key, which we already have it. So touching to these keys and changing the name of this key is not a advisable solution. So let's generate a separate key pair for your code commit case. Okay, in your code commit case, and the command is same. It is going to be the keygen, but the only difference is going to be that I don't want to generate a key pair with this name. We will generate some like keys with something else name, like code commit or something. Okay, so this is what we would specifically do, and there's some reason for it. Okay, I'll tell you the reason, but let me generate a key pair first. So here I'm gonna generate a key pair with something, the code commit or something name. Okay, it's your choice what name you would like to provide here, but just don't provide ID RSA, because that is something already taken by either default key, and default key we use it for some other purposes. Okay, so don't disturb your existing key, rather just create a new key, okay, with a new name like code commit or something else. So here is a question: can we use the same key for all the projects? Yes, you can use it, but that's not something recommended solution. You shouldn't be using the same key everywhere. Just have a different key, and we have always choice, right, to create a key. So it's just a single command we have to put. So let's go ahead with that. Okay, so here we goes. Okay, just press enter, enter, and there we go. Okay, so we have generated a key pair with the sh command. If I show you, you can see that this is my private key, this is my public key. If I show you how my private key look like, that's something the big string we have, that's my private key. And if I show you the public key, so this is my public key. So here I told you that the public key we have to supposed to give it to the code commit, basically to AWS platform, and the private key, you should be having it in your laptop. So we already have that key in your laptop. Okay, code commit key. This is something we have to provide it to the remote system. So how to do it? So that we are going to discuss here. So let's understand that further. Okay, so we are just done with the private key and public key is something we're done with it. Great. Next thing is you have to register your SH public key. So you need to upload your SH public key to IAM user. Okay, so that's your public key, and you need to provide that one to the private. This is a IAM user. Okay, so let's provide that one. So that's my public key. I have copied here key, and I'm going to provide this key to the to whom? To IAM user. Okay, you can just once you have uploaded the SH public key, copy the SH key ID. Okay, like upload your SH public key to IAM user. So that's something you have to do. Let's go and do it. I will search for IAM user. Open that one in the new tab. And here, just look for a user section. Amol is a user. Now inside that, if I go to, and let's look for a security credential. So there, I will get option called as SH public key for AWS code commit. Now this is the particular option in which I have to upload that public key. Okay, so just say upload public key. Paste that key here. Okay, I'll just copy it one more time. Here I have copied the public key and just provide it here and say upload SH public key. So we have uploaded this public key, and for that we have got here SH key ID. Okay, so that is also one of the steps we have to do here, that once you have uploaded your SH key, copy SH key ID. Okay, so store this particular SH key ID because that's something you will require it in the next step. Okay, so let me copy it from here, or like we can just come to this page and we can copy it at any time. But let's do it this way. Open a notepad, and here I'll just copy it. Okay, fine, great. The next thing is we will do what? We will edit the local configuration. Okay, now that is the next step is going to be. So you have to you have to create one folder called as config, or you have to create one file called as config. Now this config file, under which this is something, the configuration you have to keep. Now in my case, I do have already a config folder. So let me show you config folder. Okay, this is the config file I have. In your case, probably you won't be having it. Okay, in your case, probably you won't be having it. So in that case, you are going to create this config folder. So let me move this particular config folder. So what I'm going to do now is that I will move this config file with the config backup 2. Okay, so you can see now I don't have any config file here, like the same way in your case also you don't have it. And like the way we have to create this particular thing. Okay, so let's copy this configuration from here. Okay, and say nano config. So you will be creating one config file here under the .sh directory on your laptop. Okay, you'll be creating one nano like config file under your .sh directory. So just press enter, and here paste this content. Okay, paste this particular content. We have to modify that content, but let's paste it simply. Let's do it this way. Okay, modify the content on notepad and then paste it. Okay, so here we have, so this is the URL, okay, for connecting to your git commit repository. You don't have to make any changes here. You see here user.
Amol,
Yes.
can you go a bit slowly?
Okay, so Sushila, we have to cover a lot of things. If I go slowly, I know this, I'm just like bit at a faster pace because we have to cover this particular topic, and we have two more big services here. Code commit is still optional service. Always you will have it. Okay, means what I mean to say is that code commit is something probably you will not be using in real time cases. but code build and code deploy. These two services are bigger and complex more than that what you see right now. Okay, so whatever I'm teaching you, that's not something difficult. Like if you just revise the session at a slower pace, you will be able to get it. Okay,
Okay, Amol.
I'll still try to go with slower. Okay,
Okay, Amol. Okay.
yeah. So here the next thing what we have to do is, like, here I have copied this particular configuration. I've taken this configuration on my notepad. Further, I need to put the SHID here. Okay, you can see that this is the SHID we have copied here. So just copy that SHID and paste it here. So we will modify this particular file. I've just pasted this particular user ID. The next thing, where is your that on your local system? Okay, on your local system, what is that file which is the SHKey ID, like your private file key name? Okay, so if you remember that, if I go back on this particular machine, you can see the code commit is your file that we have. Code commit is the file name we have. So this is my complete path. Okay, it's my complete path, and under this particular path I have this code commit as a my sh key. So I need to provide that one here. Okay, I need to provide that one here. So under the curl sign is basically representing the C users Amol. Okay, and under that we have this .sh folder, and under that you need to provide your key name, that what is your key name is. So in our case it is a code commit. Okay, in our case it is a code commit is the key that we have. So this is going to be my complete configuration. We are done writing this configuration. So anyone has any query here, guys, with this particular configuration, that whatever we have just written now?
So, Amol, one question. So,
Mm-hmm.
on the second line, you have given user. So, we had created I am user with your name, right? Amol. So, are we not going to use that? I mean, what does user mean here?
So this was your sh key ID here. Okay, so in the second step, after uploading your sh public key, okay, you get something called as sh key ID. Okay, and if I show you this, like I have just went to this user, then here I said upload. Do you remember this step? We said upload, and then after that we get this sh key. So this is the key here we have to provide.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So I have copied, like I'll just copy this particular configuration. I will go here, and inside the .sh directory, I will say nano config folder, and I will paste that particular content here. My bad. Okay, I need to copy it one more time.
Amol, one question.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can't we provide the roles for this instead of creating an IAM user and doing these all things? Is it mandatory that we create an IAM user only and then we work on these things?
Okay, so the very first thing, like we have created this IAM user, and we logged in with the IAM user, because in all the real-time cases you will be always logged in with IAM user only. Okay, you are never going to use the root user in the real-time scenarios. That's the first thing. Okay, now you see here the sh public key is something we have to create. That is possible with the IAM user. That's the reason, like that's the reason from the AWS side we did not be able to configure sh keys with the root credential. Okay, that's the second point. Third thing is that as you ask about like a role. Okay, so try to understand the role concept. Role concept works with when one AWS service has to deal with the other AWS service. So when one service wants to have permission of the other service, in such case we do and talked about the role thing. Here, what is your intention is, you as someone who is like a developer or some person, you're sitting on your laptop. You're sitting with your laptop. So this laptop is your personal thing. It is not a AWS service. Okay. You are going to push and pull operations with the AWS, other service. And in this case, you are working as a user. Okay. You get a point. So in this case, we require a IAM user to be created. A role is something when one server wants to communicate with other, AWS service. So instead of like in your laptop, like let's say here, instead of this laptop, you have a EC2 server. Okay, instead of your laptop, you have a EC2 server. So in that case, yes, you can go and provide the role, like create a role and provide the permission to have a code commit. And in that case, you can do it. Okay, but here is your laptop is going to push and pull the code. You get the difference?
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, fine. So let's move ahead, guys. Okay, so here what we have done just now is that we have created this config file, and let me show you one more time the config file. Okay, so my config file looks like this way. Okay, similarly, you will get some user ID. In your case, you just need to replace that. Whatever the key name you have provided, okay, so just provide that one. And in our case, this is the key name we have provided, code commit. So we have just changed this thing, and yes, our config file looks absolutely fantastic. Okay, now it's time to do the authentication. Okay, it's time to do the authentication. So let's go ahead and try to do it. So here, now I can go and say the git clone. Okay, like I can say clone repository. So git clone is what I can do it now. So just copy this particular code. Okay, and paste it at anywhere. Okay, on your desktop. So now I need to think about any of the repository here. Just give me a second. Probably I will just look for a repository. Repo, there is one folder I have, and inside that also I have so many folders. So I'll create new one with the today's date. It's the 13th June. Okay, I have so many folders, so I just like skipping to think about what should be the folder name. So inside this 13th June, I'm going to clone that particular code here. Okay, so I have to say git clone command inside this folder. So how I can do that? I can just go to the desktop folder. Under desktop we have the repo folder, and inside that it is the 13th June is something the folder name we have. And next thing, it's we have to say git clone, or just copy paste this command. Okay, you can see I got warning saying that you appear to have a clone an empty repository. So basically we able to successfully clone the repository, but yes, that's an empty one. We don't have anything there. Okay, it's empty one, but yes, we successfully able to the clone your repository. So this is something I wanted to teach you as in total. Okay, how to do the authentication like from your laptop, like how to set up authentication between your laptop and the code committing. And it's a one-time activity, guys. Okay, it's a one-time activity. So you just have to follow this procedure. Okay, like how we did it. And if you follow this procedure, okay, you should be able to do it. So here we're done with the cloning part. This is a one-time activity, and we're done. We're done with it. So any questions, guys, you have here till the time, like anything you want to ask with respect to setup? Any questions? Deepak, Gurdeep, Jyoti, Sushila.
Amol, once it can you show that git clone from where we have cloned that?
So git clone, and after that we need to put the URL, and you can get it either like from here on that page itself, like here, or you can always get the URL from here. Okay, just clone your sh URL. Okay, so you can just say, you have copied that URL, so you can say git clone is the command with which you can say git clone and URL.
Here we are using SSH.
Correct.
Why
We
not
are using that.
HTTP, Amol? Why are we using SSH?
because HTTPS is the other authentication method. Of course, you can go with that, but HTTPS is not something we use in real time. Okay, so here, whenever you will be creating credentials, so HTTPS is something the token-based authentication is, and it is going to be like very similar in case of at least code commit. It is going to be very similar type of credentials that you can set up. But the problem with the HTTPS is that those we don't consider as secure as your SSH keys. SSH keys is something you just have to set up once at initial, and forever you can use it like 5 years ahead. There's no problem. Token-based authentication are going to like will have some expiry. Okay, or you can set up expiry, or you're not allowed to set the credentials as like never expire. And whenever you will be doing the authentication, each time you need to provide that token. Okay, here you can just do the git push pull operation. You can do it directly. In case of HTTPS, you need to always provide those credentials. So that's not something the feasible solution we consider in real time scenarios. And that's the reason in this case, like I'm just like trying to stick with the real time scenarios. That's the reason I consider SH1. Okay.
Um, Amal, there is one more option, HTTPS brackets GRC. What is that? Just one line regarding that.
It is same one. It is same like your very similar like your HTTPS one. These are just different way to clone your repository. Each one has it's its own way to do the configuration, and you should get all the documentation here like HTTPS SH and HTTPS GRC. Okay, so they are same. So it is all same. Okay, it is just a authentication method. Once you have clone your repository, all the commands and everything is going to same. It is just a which medium you would like to do the authentication. So it is about that.
Okay, Amal.
Yes.
One question, Amol. So this
Hmm.
code commit that is alternative to Jenkins, right?
No, code commit is alternative to GitHub.
GitHub. Okay, so our code repo, I mean the actual code that lies here only in the code commit, not in the Git. So Git, we are not dealing with Git anymore. We are using code commit for everything, like
Yeah,
for.
no. Okay, so your thinking is good, but
Mhm.
just a small correction I would like to make there.
Okay,
We are going to store the code inside a GitHub.
okay,
Okay, so instead of storing the code on GitHub, now we are going to store the code on code commit.
okay.
Okay, so Git is something different. Git is what? Git is installed on your laptop. That is a
Yeah.
Git.
Mm.
Okay, and GitHub is something where you are storing the code on remote place. So that thing we call as a GitHub. Okay, so instead of GitHub, now we will be having a code commit. So there is a replacement. Correct?
Oh, okay, so our code will be hosted in code commit.
Yeah, the code build is the next service. We have to yet to like discuss that. So we can take the code from the either GitHub or from the code commit, and then further we are going to build that application. So that's what the Jenkins does. So here code build is going to do that.
Okay. Uh, I'm still a little confused. So code will be in code commit, and then we are cloning that code. So because when you're cloning the code, you are using GitHub repo, right? Git repo.
Yeah. So here
So
right now,
so
I'm
yeah,
just like I'm explaining you the alternative service for the GitHub, that is a code commit.
yeah.
And right now we have not started with the code build. Okay, so be relaxed with the code build because that's something complete different thing to discuss, and we are going to discuss tomorrow that. Today let's focus on the code commit, like how to store the code first of all. How to do the push operation, pull operation. So that's what the next thing I'm going to show you. So
Okay.
let's
No,
focus on the code
yeah.
commit. Yeah.
Okay. No, my question was that you are cloning so your code is still there in the GitHub, and you're cloning from there,
So
and then
sorry,
you're going to.
your voice is a bit low. Can you speak in mic? I think you're not speaking mic.
Is this better?
Yes, yes. far better. Yes.
Is this better?
Yes, yes. Please go on.
Okay. So I was saying, I was saying that you're using, you're cloning the repo and your code is still there in GitHub, right?
Okay, 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 okay. I got your point. Okay.
So,
So yes, yes,
yeah,
we have to do that.
I was thinking that we are going to store our code in code commit, and then we are going to push and pull using push and pull operations there itself. But you are still using the code from GitHub. Then why we are using code commit? We are still using
Oh,
GitHub, right?
no, no, no. We are not using it. We're not using it. It is just what I've done is for you people, whenever you'll be coming and visiting this, let's say you have to practice it. So what I've done is I've done something for you that this particular repository
Mm-hmm.
can teach you that how to perform the operations of this, like all the three services. So for that I have created one document here with the README file. Okay, now this is something providing you the documentation which is available for you. So I think that's a good way to go with. So that's what here I have done. Here this is just for your understanding purpose, like documentation that I have to store. So I have chosen the GitHub as the place. Okay, we are going to store the code inside the code commit only.
Okay.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
here on the GitHub I have so many documents here, like I have so many repositories. You can see the count. Okay, so it is like GitHub is something we use it on a daily basis. Okay, in this particular today session, what I'm saying is that we have an alternative for a GitHub. So our intention is to store the code on code commit now. Okay, in today's session I have so many repositories here. Okay, so that's a different story.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. So now the next thing is that we have to do some push and pull operations with this particular repository. So right now we're done with the cloning part. Okay, and you can see that I'm inside this demo code commit. So we don't have anything here. Okay, right now, and we can do some push and pull operations. So let's do it some. Okay, so let's say you assume that you are a developer. Okay, so I will create any of the file. Okay, let's say this is the code.txt file that I have written. Okay, and I'll just write something. Let's say this is the sample code file. Okay, so I'm done writing something. Let's save it. So Control O, press Enter, Control X. Okay, now you can do the same thing via VS Code also. Okay, like if you are not comfortable to write the things in a code, of course the code is something we don't write it with the nano editor. You can open the VS Code here, and with some editor you can write the files, and we're done writing one file here, code.txt. Okay, so if I show you, yes, we're done writing some file. Now this file is something like whenever we are done writing, okay, what we do is we say in case of Git, okay, we have few of the commands uh, that you need to understand. Whenever we are done writing the code, we say very first command at git add that particular file name, that whichever you are done with writing. So this particular command is going to add this file to staging area, and then you're going to say git commit -m, and here you're going to say that this is the first commit or something, that whatever the message you would like to give, like what the code you have written, basically that message you're supposed to provide here. I'm just gonna say that git commit -m and then first commit. Okay, so I'm just like putting some dummy message here and just press enter. So the very first thing, we have written some code, we've added that code to staging area, we have committed the code, and it's time to push your code. So you say git push origin master. Okay, so this is the command with which you can push your code to your remote repository. So I'll say git push origin master, and here you can see that we successfully able to push the code. Okay, we successfully able to push the code. So let me show you on the remote repository here on your repository. So here we have repository, right? So inside that, if I check now, you can see that we have successfully pushed this particular code.txt. So the way we see the things on your GitHub, okay, similarly you should be able to see the things here. You can see right now you're working on the master branch here in this case. Here you're working on the main branch. You have the files and everything here. Okay, you have files and everything here. So you can create a pull request. You can create a pull request. You can clone the repository URL. You can here you get the option to clone with the sh HTTPS. So those URL you can copy it here. So a similar interface you have it here. And if you are interested to see the commit history and everything, you have these options here. Okay. So this is like a similar tool you have. Now, if you are just comparing it with the GitHub, so of course GitHub is like a, so much advanced and compared to your GitHub, the code commit, but still, if you really think to use this particular tool in your real-time operation, so there isn't something that you don't have it, you lack with respect to GitHub facility. Okay, it's just that you might be handling with other way. In terms of UI, okay, here the commands are going to be exactly same. Now these are the same commands that you use it for a GitHub push pull operations also. Here in this case, you are dealing with the code commit, so there is no difference in the commands, okay? Because Git is the common tool that we have. The remote repository software, earlier it was the GitHub, now it is the code commit. So that's the difference you have it. But your push pull operations are going to remain same, okay? So your first user is like have pushed this one, okay? Let's say you have the other colleague. So he's going to pull that code, okay? So he's going to say git pull origin master, okay? And that's how he should be able to pull this code. So that's how this code commit repository is made. Here you can store your code. Okay, here you can store your code. And of course, we don't have to store a dummy code here. Okay, in practice, we will be storing the real code, and that's what the next thing we're going to do. But right now, is this push operation is understood to you all? Any questions, guys? Any questions here? Okay, Deepak is good. How about other Gurdeep, Jyoti, Sushila? You understood this thing? You understood this concept? Like
Yes,
push pull?
Aman.
Okay, great. Now what I want, you guys should be practicing this
Amal,
after a session is done. Yes, yes, Sushila, please. Go
same,
ahead.
if now for this, same add and commit and push is same, the same commands that we use in Git.
Yeah, for whatever the commands you use it for GitHub and Git, okay? So in like same commands here you also you have to use. Okay, there's no difference. Commands wise, there is no difference.
Can you once show that comments once again, Amal?
Yes.
Okay, Amal.
Okay.
Okay, Amal. Just for recall, just for comparing, I just asked if there is any
Okay.
difference or.
No, no, command wise it is going to be same. Why? Because it's the same tool. Okay, Git is the tool that you are going to use it for both. Okay, whether it's a GitHub or code commit, or tomorrow you bring something else. Okay, like in fact let me tell you, there are multiple tools like that. We have a Bitbucket, we have the GitLab. Okay, so all of these tools are using the same Git tool. Okay, your remote tool is going to vary, that whether you're storing the code on GitHub, GitLab, Git SVN, Bitbucket, code commit. Okay, so those tools might vary, but your commands, okay, whatever the Git commands you have, so those are going to remain constant as it is. Okay.
Amal, the same here in Git, we will be creating other folders and we will be moving all that commands also the same like Git.
Yes, yes, everything is same.
Okay, Amal.
Yes,
One quick.
yes.
Yeah, so what do you mean by that all the different tools use Git commands only? Like they all use Git. All different tools like Bitbucket and Code Commit, they use Git.
Okay, what I mean to say is that So as I already mentioned, like people, always gets a lot of confused here because they don't have understanding here about Git and GitHub. These are two separate tools. Okay, they just assume these both of things are same, and of course the terminology is same. That's the reason they might feel so. GitHub is a private organization. Okay, and the owner of this particular tool is a Microsoft. Okay, GitHub is the open source tool. Now this particular tool you have on your laptop, like the way we have in a Git bash. Okay, or you can have the CLI tool. You can use a Git tool right now with the other tools. Let's say if I open now, Git bash is just a terminal. Okay, if I use a command prompt. Okay, because Git is already installed or Git bash is already installed, so can I use the Git commands here? Yes, I can, right? Here you can see the different options I have.
Yes.
Okay, so basically Git tool is installed on my laptop. So Git tool is going to be the common here. Here the way we have one tool from Microsoft, the GitHub. Okay, from AWS we have the tool called as the code commit. Okay, now there must be someone who is owner of the Bitbucket. I don't know whoever is the owner. Okay, but the Bitbucket is the third similar tool we have, that you can use it. Then we have one more tool called as the GitLab. Okay, again the fourth tool. Okay, then we have the fifth tool as Git SVN. Okay, so like that the list just goes on. Okay, I just know the two of the owner, but these are the private companies tools. Okay, Microsoft, AWS. Here is someone owner. Here are the. This is an open source tool. Okay, this is a free one. You have this tool on your laptop. You do the authentication from your laptop. You write the code on your laptop. Once you're done writing the code, you use any one of the tool for push and pull operations. Till the time you are just familiar with the GitHub, but GitHub is not the only tool we have in the market. Okay.
Okay, Amol. Got it.
Yes. So now it's time to actually put something, the meaningful code. Right now you just have put this some code.txt, and of course this is not something going to help you with any way. So as a demonstration purpose, what I'm going to do is I do have one code. Okay, I do have one code, and this is the code I'm going to take. Okay, now just assume that I have done code. Now this is supposed to be written by my developer. This code is supposed to be written by developer. Now I'm not a developer, who will quickly write the code in front of you guys, and then with that code we will take it. So the way here you see code.txt is something that I have pushed it. Okay, so same way I just need to have this all the code files. Okay, like whatever the code you see here, I just want to have that one inside my code commit. So I already have the code on GitHub, so that particular code I'll be taking here. Again, don't gets confused guys here. What I'm trying to say is that simply I just need to have a code files. Either you write it by yourself or you take it from anywhere. Okay, it's your choice. In my case, I do have the code which is placed on the GitHub. So this is the particular code, like on this particular repository, I do have code files. So that's something I'll be taking here for my code commit. Now, in of course real-time scenario, that this code files has to be written by some developer. Okay, now we don't have any developer, so let's take this code, and for that one, what I'm going to do now is you can see demo code commit is one repository we have. Now along with that, I'll just clone this particular repository, and from this repository I'll be copy the things from this repository to this repository. Okay, so that's something my plan is. So let me do that. So here I'm going to say git clone, and this is the public repository. Okay, so anyone can just clone it. Just simply take the HTTPS URL here, and I'll just clone it. Okay, so here I'll paste it, and here we go. Okay, so we have this code pipeline repository which we have copied. So if I go to the code pipeline repository,
Amal,
you can see that. Yes.
here we have taken HTTPS URL, not SSH. Why? Where we have to take this HTTPS and SSH? What is that condition we are differentiating?
So, that's something you can also, like, this is my account, right? So here, in this case, like when I'm using my account, so I do have two choices, either HTTPS or SH1. Okay, for SH1, I have to do the authentication, like the SH key setup has to be there. So in my case, I do have that setup, and I can just clone the, SH also I can do it. So there's I don't have to think about it. Okay, now just think on your laptop. Okay, so if you just consider SH URL, so in that case, you won't be able to do the SH authentication because you don't have set up the keys. That key setup is not there with the GitHub account. This is my account. This is my GitHub repository. You can see it's Amol Shetty / code pipeline. So this is my account repositories. So you cannot do the SH authentication here. You only have the option which is HTTPS. So whichever the repository you see as a public repository, you can just clone, but only option is that HTTPS is something you have to choose. Okay.
SSH authentication is the key pair authentication. Is that what you are saying?
Yeah. So I would recommend you to just try to clone it. Okay, just try to clone my account URL. Just try to clone it. You'll get answer. So okay, so try
Okay.
to SH1 and HTTPS one. So you'll get to know. Okay,
Okay.
yeah. So now here in this case, like we are done with the cloning part, and inside this particular account, like here you can see inside this folder, the whatever the content you see, okay, exactly same content I am having available here. Okay, but it is in the other repository. Okay, it is in some other repository. So I have this code pipeline repository. I need to copy that content to this particular repository. Okay, so that's what I'm assuming, that my developer is going to write some code and he's going to push that code, and like tomorrow we are going to take that code and we are going to use it for the other services. So that's what we are going to do now. So to do that one, okay, like to do the copy operation, I'll just open this Explorer. Okay, and here I can do it in better ways. Inside this code pipeline, you can see this is what the code content I have. I need to copy that content to this demo. Okay, right now we just have this code file here. So let's do that. Okay, and for that purpose, what I'm going to do is I'm just like going to copy everything, uh, excluding few other folders. Okay, and what the folders I have to exclude, let me tell you. I'll just go to view, and under the view you can see that I have to make sure that my all hidden items are visible. Okay, so because here I have said hidden items visible, this particular folder, which is .git folder, is visible now for me. Now I'm interested in the copying the folder. So make sure that you don't copy this git folder, because try to understand this. This is with respect to the GitHub. We have cloned the GitHub repository. Okay, we have cloned the GitHub repository. So inside a GitHub repository, you have this .git folder, and within this .git folder, you have the information related to your GitHub folder. So you don't have to copy this. Okay, except that you can just copy everything else. Okay, so make sure that whenever you're copying the things to like from one repo to other repo, okay, you might be doing it all the time. So in such case, don't copy the .git folder information, because inside that .git folder, okay, like try to understand, you have cloned this particular code. Okay, the information about the .git, okay, like information about this GitHub, like who has committed, you can see it, right? 13 commits is somebody, like someone has made it. So those whoever has created those 13 commits, so that history and everything is there inside this folder. Now I don't want that history, okay, inside a new repository when I'm trying to copy. So I will have my own .git folder for this repository. I will have my own .git folder for this repository. So I don't want to copy that .git folder. So except .git folder, you can copy everything else. So let me do it that way. I'll say Control A, and I've just like deselected that. I'll say Control C, and here I will paste it. So yes, I have copied everything else here, and you can just assume that my developer has done writing the code here. Okay, my developer has done writing the code here. So if I go back here on my terminal, okay, let's go to that demo code commit now, okay, which is our code commit folder. And inside that you can see we have copied, like we have all the files here. So if I check the git status now, you can see that we have this untracked file. So just to make all the track, so just say git add, and I have so many files, so I can't just say like each file and then like, you know, that's not something the way I should go with. I can say git add and dot. So if I say git add dot means all of the files, that whatever you see here, all the files will go to staging, and say git commit -m, and here I'll say all code files. Okay, so it's your choice what message you would like to give. So I'm done committing. Okay, I'm done committing, and it's time to push the code. So just say git push origin master. So here I am pushing the code to the remote repository. So if I go here and if I simply refresh it, you guys can see that we have successfully pushed the code here. Now this particular code, like whatever I have pushed the code, is something, you know, I'm going to take it as an example further. I just wanted to have some coding files here so that I can build the code with the help of code build and next thing, like we have to see a lot of things ahead. I just wanted to have some code file. Either you take, you know, Java application, you take Python application, you take React.js application. It's your choice. Okay, what application you would like to take. So with this way, you can just copy the code from one repository to other repository. Okay, so is this understood to you guys, like how we did that? Okay, Deepak is saying yes. How about others? Like any question, guys, you have here? Okay,
No questions, Aman.
okay, great, fine. So again, I would highly recommend you to just try out these things by yourself. Okay, so you just need to rewatch the recording and you just practice it. Okay, and I say I just want you to be in a flow with me. Okay, it would be good if you just try it today itself. Okay, if you try it today itself, then now that's something the new topic, right? So it is not dependent on any older service. So if you try it today, so that tomorrow we will have this code available inside a code commit. So once I'm done tomorrow session, further, you know, after that, like whenever you get time, you can just try it by yourself. Yes. So like what I mean to say exactly is that tomorrow I have to start with a code build and code deploy service. But to have the code, okay, but to have your code available, okay, like, you know, the very first thing, you should have the code available in the code commit so that you can take the code further and do the things, right? So that's the reason I'm saying. So code commit is something, just try it today itself. Okay, I just provide your this code commit repository. I mean the code pipeline repository to you all in the chat box. Okay, so yes. Also, please make, you know, the start this repository, because tomorrow you will come to know the importance of this repository. Okay, tomorrow we are going to do the other practical, so there you will come to know. Fine, guys. Okay, so we'll stop here. So for
Aman,
today's session, yes,
I have one more doubt, not regarding AWS. Can I ask?
yes, yes. Go ahead. Yeah.
We use Docker to build the images and we deploy, and Kubernetes also somewhat we use for deploying. What is the difference between Docker and Kubernetes? Where we will use Docker and where we use Kubernetes?
So, okay, Alan. So here, Kubernetes is your container orchestration tool. Okay, so what you know about Docker is something that you have some application, then you write some Docker file, then you take that application to like inside Docker file, like with the help of Docker file, you build a Docker image. Now this Docker image, you have two choices, and your question is that either you can have the EC2 server, and then you install the Docker here. Okay, and then in the form of container, you can run the application. So that's the one option you have. Or the second option is that you have here the EKS cluster, which is a bit complicated thing. Like here you have the sub worker node, here you have master node, and here you are running your container in the form of the pod. So what's the difference you have? Like here, you can do the same thing with the Docker simply. Why we have this whole thing, right? Is this question is your question is correct, Sujila?
Yes, Amal.
Okay. So this is completely good thing that you have understanding about the Docker, that what the Docker exactly do. So Docker is like having a Docker images, and with the help of Docker images you can run your Docker application, like you can run your container. But the problem here we have when we are doing the things with just a simple Docker. Okay, so Docker is a software on top of which we are running the container. So Docker is nothing but it is a container runtime software. Okay, so what is Docker? Docker is a container runtime software. So basically this will provide the all environment to run your container. So that's what here it is doing. But the problem here we have, like we have a lot of problem here. Okay, so let's say you're running your applications with just the help of Docker. Tomorrow you're running this container, and there's some problem occurred with this particular container, and your container stops. What we can do? Okay, you have to log into again to EC2 server. You will check. Okay, so Docker container is stopped. So what you will do? You will restart the container. You will check. Okay, what is happened? So probably you will restart the container again. But can you do this like 24/7? So answer is no, right? So with the help of Docker, we create the image. Okay, but that image we would like to run it with the help of the EKS or like the Kubernetes particularly. So what Kubernetes is all about? So Kubernetes is the orchestration platform, container orchestration platform, on which whatever the things you cannot do with just a single Docker, okay, you can do it here. So Kubernetes is not going to create the Docker images by its own. Okay, like there we require something. The Docker images has to be created with the Docker. Image creation is going to happen with the Docker, but when it comes to running those images, so in that case, Kubernetes is the better choice we have, and that's what we want. Okay, and Kubernetes is going to provide you a lot of features, right? Like maintaining the replica count for you all the time, maintaining the state of application, providing the communication services. So it is providing like n number of facilities. So what that Docker cannot provide you alone. So Kubernetes is the container orchestration platform on which you take a Docker image and you run it here. And Docker is simply a software that has the ability to run your container images, but with the help of Docker you cannot perform the orchestration things. Like orchestration means basically a management of your container. That cannot you do it. You can run your Docker image as in the form of container, but self-healing capability, having communication with outside world, or the maintaining the replica count is like this is something is not there with just a single Docker software. And that's the reason we have here Kubernetes, which can just do all this operation with a very ease Okay, updating your application is one more thing. Docker, in case of Docker, you need to stop your container. You will start the new container. That's how you can update your application. In case of Kubernetes, you just have a deployment. You just change the image version, and with that you can just change your, so that's something you have the ability to. You can do it.
Okay, Amal. And while coming to private EC2 missions, why do we need private EC2 missions? Everything we can do on public EC2 missions. Then what is the purpose that we are going with the private EC2 missions? For what purpose generally we use that?
It is for a security purpose. Okay, so if I talk about when we are doing all things in real time, so we always create the machines or all the EC2 servers. So most likely, okay, if there is no requirement to launch the things in a public subnet, we never launch it in public subnet. We always launch the things in a private subnet. Okay, it is just for security purpose.
No, Amal, I'm asking what are the things that we do with private EC2? Um,
Private EC2 running the applications, placing databases, like those are the things we do it. Like here, why you create the EC2 server? Your whole and sole like purpose is to, like here you have EC2, and on top of that, you must be running some application. Either you created your application, you're running that, or for some, so you have taken some third-party application and you're using it for your own purpose. So that's what your intention is. But it is all about like you can do the same thing on the public. So that's what I think you asked the question, that you can do it on public subnet machine also, and in the private machine also you can do the same thing. So yes, we can do the same thing. It is just a security purpose, because of which we create the, like we do the create the things in a private subnet, or else we could have done that in the public subnet machine, public subnet instance machine.
but then we are giving the access with uh, private EC2 with public NAT gateway to get the internet connection, but security it will be secured. Is it so?
Yeah, so like NAT gateway is what? NAT gateway is the way to provide the internet connection to your EC2 machine. Okay, so here NAT gateway is not allowing you to somebody log in from outside. For login, if you revise the session, what we have done is we have created something like a public subnet. In a public subnet, we have created something called as Bastion host. So Bastion host is the way through which you can log in here, not directly. Okay, so that's how we are making your machine secured. Now that's a different story, that we also required internet. So for internet, we create a NAT gateway. NAT gateway is going to provide you the internet connection, not the SH connection. For SH, Bastion host is the way. Okay.
Okay, Amal. So we are securing, but we are giving with bash and we are allowing the users to connect. Is it so?
Yes. So Bastion host
When
is the way, like you require something, some way to log into your machine. There has to be some way, or else like why you are creating the machine then?
okay, when public users are not able to create, not able to log in, when public is not able to log into the private EC2 mission, uh, we are deploying the application, but with using Bastion, we are connecting to the private EC2. Security it will be secured, but we will be able to log in. Is it so, Amul?
Yeah. So it's a machine is secured. Okay. Private EC2, it is basically that nobody can log in, but we are finding the way via the Bastion host, like with the from the Bastion, because the internet, all the machines can communicate with each other. So we are using that facility, and with the Bastion host, we are logging to the your EC2 machine. Okay.
Okay, Amul. Okay, Amul.
Yeah. Fine then. All right, guys. So fine. So we'll stop for today, and yeah. So we will see it in tomorrow's session. Have a good day, guys. Bye bye.